What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into TTP Sports, and we are inching our way closer and closer towards the start of spring training. Spring training basically started at this point. Pitchers, catchers already reported. You're seeing all the clips down there from the facility down there in Clearwater and everything like that. Fans are already doing their traveling, and it's just a very exciting time now for basically the start of the Major League Baseball season. The first games, I believe, are on Saturday. So, what, that's 4 days away at this point. So, hey, it can't get here any sooner. I can't wait for some Phillies baseball. I can't wait for opening day. I can't wait for another chance with this team for another postseason push and for another year of possible World Series contention. That'll just be, the icing on the cake in that matter of the fact. I still do believe this team is good enough to win a World Series. I thought they were good enough to win a World Series last year. And for some people that want to say this team has not improved, I firmly believed your team did improve. You made one of the bigger signings of free agency, which was bringing back Aaron Nola, because if you lost Aaron Nola, that's a huge loss for your rotation, regardless if you brought in a Blake Snell or a Jordan Montgomery. That one of those two guys replacing Aaron Nola would still leave a big hole in your rotation. Now that you have Aaron Nola, I wouldn't mind bringing in a Jordan Montgomery or a Blake Snell to supplement the rotation, but that's basically wait and see process, because those two are still in the market for some reason and they have yet to sign, and this market's going to crash at some point, right? Like, these guys are eventually going to sign at some point, right? Like, they're not going to go towards the end of spring training, midway through spring training, and then finally sign with a team. I know there's a bunch of rumors about Blake Snell and the Yankees right now, so that is a wait and see progress at this point. I'm not sure what's going on with Jordan Montgomery. There's basically been no rumors since, even though the Phillies have been linked with both of those two guys. Scott Boras doing Scott Boras things there. And it's a wait and see process with those two. And yeah, once those two guys sign, I have no idea what's going to happen at this point. But yeah, it would be nice if one of them, specifically Jordan Montgomery, if he ends up in the Phillies rotation, that would definitely be a very nice thing. I know Dave Dombrowski, I think he spoke on the radio either today or a few days ago, saying that they're almost done with their moves in terms of the roster building right now. So who knows? Maybe that does, pave the way to possibly bring in one of those two starters that are on the market. I don't know, because you added your bench piece, a thing that, needed to be added at this point. You bring in Whit Merrifield. This happened a couple of days ago. I believe it was on Friday or Saturday. Just finally being able to talk about it, because I haven't been able to talk about it for the past few days, because Saturday was the Stadium Series. I was over at the Meadowlands the entire day, and you all know how that went. Yesterday, I was just, well, actually, Sunday, I was just exhausted, and basically Sunday and Monday was just trying to figure out the entire sleep schedule for that fact. And yeah, hopefully my sleep schedule is fixed. It could definitely vary on day to day, but the Stadium Series, getting home at 2:30 in the morning, really fucked up my sleep schedule. So I'm finally here. I have the energy to come on a live stream with you guys and talk some Phillies baseball, talk Whit Merrifield and everything here, and all that stuff and everything there. You know, Rumors and talk about, possible Zack Wheeler extension, whenever that's going to be. I'm expecting it to happen at some point, possibly during the spring training. And if it doesn't happen during spring training, I wouldn't be shocked if it happens sometime during the season, or they wait till, at the end of the season to get something done. But I do expect a Zack Wheeler extension to be done at some point. He's going to be a Philly for the next few years. That's what I'm expecting at this point. Whether it's a 3-year deal, 4-year deal, or something like that, where he's making at least 30 mil a year, 35 mil a year, Zack Wheeler's definitely going to get paid on the short-term end of it. That's what I'm expecting at this point. But hey, man, can't wait. He's your ace for a reason. He's been dynamite for you in the playoffs. Gotta give him his payday. Gotta give him that raise, because that contract that he signed for, just an absolute steal of a contract. No one expected it to be that way. No one expected him to become one of the best pitchers in baseball when he signed that contract. No Phillies fan could tell you at that point he was going to be one of the best pitchers in baseball. But that contract was an absolute steal by the Phillies. And surprisingly enough, it was Matt Klentak who signed that contract. So, yeah. we're definitely gonna have to wait and see on that. Well, not wait and see. I don't know why I say that same old line. Wait and see on that standpoint. Get used to it. Just get used to it. Don't mind me. I'm rambling at this point because I hear something on my computer. It does a little notification noise. I didn't see a notification pop up. I only heard the notification noise, so I got a little bit confused there. But Matt Klentak surprisingly signed that Zack Wheeler contract, and you've been benefiting the fruit of that ever since. And eventually he is going to get extended. And that 1-2 punch of him and Nola are going to be in a Phillies uniform for quite some time, and it's going to continue to be that way. Now, whatever that means for the possibility of going after a guy like a Jordan Montgomery, I still think it's very possible, because at this point with the market crashing, who knows if any of those guys should take a short-term deal. Because I'm sure Blake Snell, I'm sure both of those guys have been looking for term and looking to stay for a team for a very long time. But with the way the market's going and the way that teams look hesitant to pay these guys, I wouldn't be shocked if they take a 1-2 year deal with opt-outs or something like that. I'm sure the Phillies can definitely afford that. And the whole thing that's been going on today basically was the report that the Phillies were the team that offered the most money and I believe the most term to Yamamoto. And, he just obviously chose to go to the Los Angeles Dodgers because he preferred to play on the West Coast. He wanted to play on the team with Shohei Ohtani, so that was very obvious at that point. And of course, you're going to get a bunch of the trolls going after, oh, the Phillies gave this much money, ha 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 ha, and they still couldn't get someone to come to their trash-ass city. That was definitely a specific tweet from Giraffe Mark on Twitter, YouTuber, big baseball YouTuber. Hates on Philadelphia comedically for some reason. Literally, he uses the most generic, things to bash Philadelphia. Oh, trash city, trash fans, snowballs at Santa, etc., etc., etc. He basically uses all the standard ways to trash Philadelphia. Like, at the end of the day, get a new routine guy. That's all you gotta do, because we've heard all these insults before at the end of the day. But, yeah, I'm not shocked that the Phillies went balls deep I don't even know why I said that, balls deep to go after and pay all that money to try and lure Yamamoto here. It's just sad, like, he preferred the West Coast, and he did want to play on a team that had more of a, Japanese presence, and specifically a team that had Shohei Ohtani. So Phillies really had no control in that aspect, but it does paint a good picture for them in future stakes on the international market, specifically from guys coming over from Japan, coming over from Korea and all that stuff. Roki Sasaki, he's definitely going to be one of the next, big name pitchers that's coming out of Japan in the next few years. He's 22 years old, electric arm. We saw what he did in the World Baseball Classic last season. Can throw over 100. He's got some nasty elite stuff, even better than Yamamoto. He's got stuff better than Yamamoto, and Yamamoto's stuff is insanely good. So if the Phillies offered that much for Yamamoto, I can't imagine how much they'd be willing to break the bank for Sasaki if he does happen to come over in the next couple of years. I'm definitely sure the Phillies will be banking on that type of market. And there definitely were some words from John Middleton. They're not I know there's been a lot of people that have been worried about this team getting cheaper, not wanting to go over the third luxury tax and all that stuff. And they always use the excuse, well, it's not my money and all that stuff. And the one thing that I try to counter with that is the first and the second luxury tax, all that stuff, it just comes out of the owner's pocket. The third luxury tax is when you do have to worry about it from a team aspect, because it does limit your ability with drafting players, signing bonuses and all that stuff with those drafted players. I do believe it also affects your international pool money at the same time. So I don't think you lose your draft pick. I think your draft pick moves 10 spots back if you do surpass the third luxury tax. And for a guy like, oh, just go out and spend money on Blake Snell, spend all this money on Jordan Montgomery, even though I do want a Jordan Montgomery on a, cheaper 1-2 year deal, maybe with an opt-out in there, you don't want to break the bank for those two guys. That's what you need to realize. The Phillies were willing to break the bank for Yamamoto. And if you want to throw the argument out there, oh, he's not experienced in Major League Baseball, he has, you don't know what he's going to be. Why would you put that so much money into a major risk factor for a guy that's transitioning over into Major League Baseball overseas, hasn't been here before, even though he was dynamite over in Japan? Like, it's not necessarily going to translate into Major League Baseball. And yes, that is a very valid argument. There's been many, Japanese pitchers that were rumored, with Daisuke and all that stuff with the Boston Red Sox. He wasn't, this dynamo pure Hall of Famer when he came over when he was supposed to be when he came over from Japan. Didn't really pan out to be that exact thing. He was still a very solid pitcher, but you break the third luxury tax for the right player. You don't break the luxury tax for a player that you have concerns about. I wouldn't say I have concerns about Yamamoto. I would have 100% threw the money in the bank at Yamamoto like the Phillies did, because his numbers are just too good and his stuff is just too good to pass up on. He just decided to play on the West Coast because that's where he preferred to play at. But if you're going after a guy like a Blake Snell who's age 33, you're not going to break the bank for that guy, especially even though he has won 2 Cy Youngs. There's many underlying numbers that are very concerning. Jordan Montgomery is a guy that you don't break the bank for either. He's a very serviceable, very good pitcher in this league. With very work out as like a 2 or a 3 in this league, but it's still not someone you break the bank over. When you're thinking about guys that you break the bank for, you break the bank for guys like Garrett Cole, who could possibly be on the free agent market if that ever happens. You break the bank for an Aaron Judge. You break the bank for a Bryce Harper, and there's, more rumors about a possible Bryce Harper extension that could possibly happen, and he wants to be signed until he's 45 years old. That's another story for another day. I'm not sure if I'm going to get fully into it during this stream. Maybe we'll do another one in the next few days before the games start for spring training. That'll definitely be its own topic of conversation. Bryce Harper wanting to be signed until he's 45. Do you want to do that or not? I laugh at it because I just think it's hilarious, but in terms of the overall thought process on that is something for a later day to get the full thoughts out there. But what else? Other players that you go and break the bank for. I'm trying to think. Juan Soto would be a guy that you break the bank for, and he's going to be a free agent next year and next offseason. So that'll be something if he does go on the market, which he is a Scott Boras client, and I fully expect him to go on the free agent market next year because he is a Scott Boras client. And there is definitely something that did stand out to me in terms of stuff that I believe this comes from either, I'm not sure if this comes from the mouth of, okay, I think this does come from John Middleton, one of the articles that was published about today, which also was about the Phillies trying to break the bank for Yamamoto. So I'll get into that in a little bit as well. I know I'm all over the place, boys. There's been a lot of stuff happening over the past few days, and I'm trying to get all of it at once here. I'm trying to give as much as it as possible. Like I said, just deal with me, deal with my idiocy, deal with my unpreparedness, deal with my unprofessionalism, and just roll with it. That's all you got to do at this point. But where was I? Oh God. But in terms of going back to breaking the bank and all that stuff, you got to do it for the right player. And a guy like a Blake Snell, a guy like a Jordan Montgomery, they're not the guys you break the bank for. And that's in terms of that situation. And even though I really haven't gotten into the whole Whit Merrifield stuff, I probably should do that right now, even though that was a terrible transition and has no basis on anything at all, because of course you're not breaking the bank for a bench piece in Whit Merrifield. And Whit Merrifield, we've heard in the past interviews and on the past few days and all that stuff, he understands what he is in this league right now. He wanted to go into a position where he can win right now and go to a team that gives him the best possible chance to win a World Series. And he picked the Phillies, signs a 1-year contract to $8 million. I believe there's an opt-in or something like that, or a team buyout eventually in that contract, so you never know what can happen in that type of situation. He goes on the whole spiel about how I've done all these things in the league. I've been an all-star many times. I've led the league in hits. I've done all these type of accolades. I just want to win. I just want to win at the end of the day, and that's what I'm coming here to do, and I'll do anything in my, possible ability, whatever this team needs me to do, I'll do it. I just want to win a World Series. So with Merrifield, a guy, he does have extreme splits, switch hitter, guy that can steal spaces, guy that can play basically anywhere possible in the outfield. So I guess you can call him a super utility guy. He can play anywhere in the infield. He can give you some outfield playing time whenever you need to. So he could definitely be a guy that plays a couple of times during the week when you need to get a guy off of his legs, when you need maybe to put some guy into the DH spot. So that definitely helps out in that scenario when, Trey Turner needs a day off from shortstop, when Bryce Harper needs a day off from first base, when Stott, boom, they need a day off from their respective positions, or when Nick Castellanos needs a day off from right field, when, maybe someone in center field needs a day off or something like that. There's definitely many ways that you can utilize a Whit Merrifield. like I said, his splits are extremely extreme. He's not that good against right-handed pitching. He's really good against left-handed pitching, and he could definitely steal you some bases. Very active on the base paths. Even though he is up there in age, he still puts up, solid numbers for in terms of hitting against lefties and stuff like that. I'm not sure how the Phillies are going to utilize him this year, even though it'll probably be to the extent of how I explained what type of player he is, to where he could play all over the field. He can, go off against left-handed hitting. So we'll definitely just have to see how Rob Thompson and Dave Dombrowski utilize it, but it definitely is a very good pickup for this Phillies team. That is definitely something that a lot of people have been asking about in terms of, just going after the depth, building up the bench, having a guy that can go out there and play every position possible, to where you can give a day off to a guy that needs it. And it definitely is a big bolster to this bench, because the bench definitely needed it. It definitely needed it. Imagine if you had a position last year in Game 7 of the NLCS in that basis loaded situation against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Imagine if you didn't have to bat Johan Rojas in that position, and in comes Whit Merrifield. And maybe that could turn out to be a better outcome. So if you need to pinch hit for someone in a certain situation, in an important situation, maybe Whit Merrifield could be that guy. I have no idea the clutch factor and everything like that. I don't know if he has that clutch gene. I don't know if he has the balls for that. But we'll definitely find out as the season goes. But still, it's an overall just a very solid pickup for this team, and something that will definitely be very useful for this team. And in terms of, with the Zack Wheeler situation and everything like that, like I said, basically in the beginning of this stream, it's basically Zack Wheeler. I expect it to happen at any point, given it during spring training or sometime during the season. I expect it to be maybe around a 3-4 year deal, and most likely 30 mil, 35 mil a year. That's what I expect, for the bank right there for Zack Wheeler. That's where I expect him to get paid, and that sets up your, 1-2 in your rotation for a very long time here. Basically, setting it up until, maybe in the back stretch of that contract, Zack Wheeler, instead of becoming your ace, he moves down to maybe more of a 2 or a 3, and then that's where really Andrew Painter comes in after the Tommy John situation, and he comes and really takes up the reins, and you have a 1-2-3 situation of Andrew Painter, Aaron Nola, and Zack Wheeler, and maybe Roki Sasaki. Maybe that could also be a case. But you know, it could be shaping up to be a very good rotation. You also add a Ranger Suarez into that factor. And then, for the rest of the rotation, Taijuan Walker. I definitely don't expect Taijuan Walker to be as bad as he was last year. He was solid in the first half, really fell off a cliff in the second half. I really hope it's not going to be that drastic of a drop-off or just that drastic of a season for him. I don't expect it to be that type of the case. Maybe he's more prepared in spring training this year, with maybe the World Baseball Classic screwed up a little bit for him there. He's been up and down last season with the injuries as well, so maybe if he gets a full healthy year, he could find a way to be more consistent. And then, yeah, the question mark about Christopher Sanchez with the 5th spot in the rotation. They're definitely... I think he's earned the right to be that 5th starter in the rotation. Also, contrary to the fact that if they possibly still go out there and get a Jordan Montgomery, maybe you could turn it into a 6-man rotation, because I do think the 6-man rotation benefited the Phillies to an extent last season, especially down in the backstretch to where Aaron Nola and Zack Wheeler were more fresh. I do think having that 6-man rotation, having the pitchers go an extra day of rest, even though some guys probably don't like it, I think it's better for the longevity of the season and going into the playoffs, to where these guys are more fresher, and to where maybe you don't burn the bullpen out as much. That's probably where I see it fit. But we still have to wait for the matter of the fact if the Phillies even do go after a guy like, a Jordan Montgomery or anything like that. But it's just going to have to wait and see. Just going to have to wait and see. Definitely want to try to... Oh yeah, I also do want to bring up the facts about what just more in the articles and the quotes from talking about specifically what I think it was from John Middleton, and they were talking about the Yamamoto situation, on how they're still willing to spend big money on the right guy. So let me read a couple of these quotes. Let's see. Team officials don't disclose specifics of contract talks as a matter of course, But after meeting for 3 hours on December 14th with Yamamoto and his agents, and making a presentation that featured a video appearance by Bryce Harper, the Phillies offered more money than any team, according to multiple industry sources. That includes the Dodgers, who won the auction with a 12-year, $325 million bid that stands as the largest guaranteed contract for any pitcher ever. And then this is also from John Middleton. What Dave decided we do, and I agree with him, is save the powder. He said, if you don't spend it now, you can always spend it in July and maybe make a better, more aggressive trade, and you've got the money to pay for it. That specific quote ties me to the trade deadline, specifically, for Mike Trout rumors, because there's gonna be Mike Trout rumors basically the entire first half of the season because of, because there's obviously going to be Mike Trout rumors. And even though he's probably not going to specifically request a trade himself, it'll probably be something stupid like Artie Moreno, trading Mike Trout and all that crap, blah, 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 blah. All the crap that the Angels fan base has gone through, they're most likely going to be losing Mike Trout this year. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case, but that specific quote, that second quote specifically shows that they're willing to spend more money in the right possible situation possible, especially with this first quote as well, trying to break the bank for Yamamoto. They're willing to spend money on the right guy. And like I said, for all the people out there that still want them to go after Blake Snell and give him all this money, same thing with Jordan Montgomery, all this money, you don't break the bank for those two guys. It'll be nice to get those guys on a nice, cheap type 1 year, 2 year contract with opt-outs, because the market's most likely crashing at this point because for some reason those two guys just aren't signed yet. But like I said, for the right guys. And like I said, if we look at the MLB free agents for, I believe, 2025, I guess it'll be described as. That's most likely what I think it is, 2025. If I look at 2025 free agency, just to see the guys that are on the market. So, Juan Soto, definitely, most likely, I would assume he goes in the free agency after this season with the New York Yankees. He's a Scott Boras agent. He's a Scott Boras guy. There's no way in hell that he doesn't hit the open market. So, 100% Juan Soto is a guy that you go after and break the bank for. Zack Wheeler, he's most likely getting extended with the Phillies. Pete Alonso, I'm sure somebody will definitely break the bank for Pete Alonso. Alex Bregman possibly as well. Who else? Are there any pitchers on the market that are interesting? Max Fried is definitely an interesting piece there. Definitely not a guy that you break the market for, though. But in terms of guys that are just like, right there, Garrett Cole apparently has an opt-out of his contract with the Yankees. He is definitely a pitcher that you break the bank for. Max Scherzer, not at this point in his career, way too old, 40 years old. You're not giving that much money to a 40-year-old Max Scherzer, especially now that he's having a lot more injury issues. But there's quite a few guys on this list that you would definitely break the bank for, specifically Juan Soto and Garrett Cole. That is specifically the case right there. And I'm sure if Juan Soto does test free agency, I 100% expect the Phillies to go after a guy like a Juan Soto. I would not be shocked in the slightest if you don't hear the Phillies tied into anything with Juan Soto, especially since he's a Scott Boras guy. That's what I expect at that point. But that's basically, I would say, the basis here. Spring training starts this Saturday. The games, that is. The first full squad workout happened yesterday, so there's going to be workouts this entire week. You're getting all the interviews and everything like that, so I'm assuming we're going to be hearing a lot more as the days goes along, and probably more rumors as the days go along with, all these other free agents that are still out there. So we're just going to have to wait and see whatever happens with those guys that are still have yet to be signed. But first game on Saturday against the Blue Jays. It is on the road. It is not in Clearwater, so sadly you won't be able to watch it on television. You'll just have to listen to Fransky in LA, which is not the worst thing in the world. It's actually quite an amazing thing. But sadly, maybe you could find an illegal stream to watch it on the Blue Jays broadcast. Maybe that could possibly be a thing. But the first home game technically at Clearwater is Sunday against the Yankees. And they got 2 home games in this month of the last week of February, and then they got quite a few home games in the month of March before opening day, so definitely getting our filter in of spring training baseball. And then you get closer and closer and closer towards opening day, which is March 28th against the fucking Atlanta Braves. So, definitely going to be a very fun month and a half of spring training upcoming. I can't wait for every single second of it. Definitely one of my favorite times of the year. This, late February into March. getting baseball underway. It's also for the other sports pushing to the playoffs, with the NHL and all that stuff. Definitely a very fun time. It's basically like, with the month of September and October, where the month of September and October, it's basically the push for the playoffs in, baseball and everything like that. And then the other sports are basically starting with football, hockey, and basketball. This is basically the opposite of that, where basketball and hockey, they're pushing for the playoffs just right around when Major League Baseball is starting. So, very fun time of the year, definitely for that fact. We do have a voicemail here on the Anytime Hotline. I think this was left yesterday on President's Day. Yeah, this was left by Sean yesterday. If you do want to leave a voicemail for any future streams or videos or anything like that, recaps, there's the numbers down there on your screen below, 215-839-9885. Leave your thoughts and opinions on whatever the topic is going to be. You'll definitely see it, in your subscription feed on Twitter, so you can get your idea on there. But let's go to Sean here. So let me bring that up. Let me make sure that works. There we go. So let's hear what this thoughts from Sean. I'm sure this is most likely on the Whit Merrifield signing. So what does Sean got?
Amadeo, happy President's Day, and luckily for all of us, you survived the Winter Classic. You did not get frostbite. Your fingers didn't fall off. Good job.
It felt like they were going to fall off.
For the Phillies, as we segue, I was all over Whit Merrifield from like 2 months ago. I love the acquisition.
Oh, I know.
He was a guy that I thought would fit what the Phillies were looking for off the bench. I'm glad that he accepted this role because he probably could have played more for a lesser team. I think it's a great ad. Wheeler, all I can say about that situation is it's positive in that both parties want to get it done. Wheeler wants to stay there. The Phillies want him to stay there. So it seems like there's good dialogue with that. I'm encouraged. I think that'll get done as well. Hard to believe the first group of spring training games, I think, happens at the end of this weekend. So
Saturday afternoon.
Baseball season is here. Let's go Titans.
Exactly. Like I said, can't be any more pumped up for this weekend. It'll be a very fun weekend in terms of that, man. Phillies spring training 2 on, basically starting from Sunday on, and then the Flyers, they play tomorrow in Chicago. They also have the back-to-back on the weekend with the Rangers and the Penguins, so that'll definitely be an entertaining weekend on that standpoint. In terms of the next few days, like I said, Flyers most likely will be a recap tomorrow night after that game against the Chicago Blackhawks. Hopefully they could bounce back after this loss, that loss in the Stadium Series, and just get back on the right track. And in terms of after that, maybe we'll have another Phillies stream, and maybe, like I said, with the whole Harper situation, maybe we could have a whole stream and focus based on Bryce Harper and all that stuff. Because, like I said, I'm sure there's gonna be more, things that come out over the next few days as workouts and everything happen. You get more interviews with more players. Maybe Dave Dombrowski speaks again. Maybe Rob Thompson speaks again. Maybe we can have more stuff talking about Rob Thompson. There's definitely a lot of things that you can get into with this Phillies squad going into spring training. So yeah, we'll definitely have some type of stream up over the next few days, maybe Thursday, maybe and Friday as well. So definitely stay tuned for all of that stuff. Let me get you guys here in the chat here before we end it off here. Loyalist, Ayrton is not the solution. Well, I'm not going to give up on Ayrton after 2 games. Sorry, that's not how it works. Ayrton has been dynamic for you this year. 2 games don't make me change the motto. Sorry. I was shocked by how many bold numbers are on Whit Merrifield's baseball reference page. Yeah, he's had some accolades over his career. He just wants to win, man. Let's hope Whit Merrifield doesn't wind up being the rerun of Michael Lorenzen, signed to the cover of the utility spread, but ends up being a one-and-done use player. I think Whit Merrifield will definitely be a better experience than Michael Lorenzen. I have more trust in Wheeler than anyone else. Eugene, I agree on not overpaying for Blake Snell, but if the Yankees don't get him, he'd be an awesome pickup for a depressed market signing. I definitely, like I said, if you can get a guy like a Jordan Montgomery or a Blake Snell on a 1-2-year deal with an opt-out in there, I wouldn't mind that at all. I think that would definitely be a major benefit to your pitching staff. Definitely. Not breaking the bank for those guys, go. That's a no-no. That's a no-no. No complete games for anyone on the mound after we get into August. I would definitely agree with that. Side note, do you have any new additions to your soundboard? Did you get the Liberty Bell yet? I did get the Liberty Bell. I do have that stuff on the soundboard. It's not plugged in just because I was too lazy to plug it in. But yes, I think I do have a bell on the soundboard. So definitely next stream, I'll showcase that to you, Austin. I'll showcase that to you next stream. And definitely over the course of the Phillies season, we'll definitely do that. Because I do have a lot of things that I want to do for this Phillies season. Definitely, especially like for West Coast games when they play, like 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30 games. I would definitely, because, doing recaps for those games are like so tedious just because it's so late at night. And I don't like waiting the next few days to recap the entire series. So most likely, what I plan to do at least, hopefully it does, go consistently over the course of the year and depending on, availability. But I would like to do, watch live streams during the games as they happen, specifically for those West Coast games, those late night games, so we can all sit back and enjoy Phillies After Dark here. And we could definitely utilize the the soundboard and the bell for you guys that want to hear the soundboard. But yeah, it'll be a fun time. But like I said, over the next course of the few days, Flyers recap will be tomorrow. Thursday and Friday, we could probably talk about some stuff with Phillies related, depending on the news. But like I said, there's still many things to talk about with this team, like, with Rob Thompson speaking. I'm sure he's going to be speaking again. Dave Dombrowski, the Bryce Harper contract possibilities. So, yeah, definitely be on the lookout. You'll see something pop up in your subscription feed, so definitely look forward to that. But for right now, I appreciate you guys for joining as much as possible. Definitely can't wait to see you guys mostly throughout the full course of the 162 as we get closer and closer to opening day. We'll definitely be more frequent as spring training goes along as well, updating on the team and everything like that, and for news and breaking news and all that stuff. So definitely just stay tuned for everything there. So thanks, guys, for joining tonight. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section. Don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Does me a great deal of service. Also use the code TTPSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. A great deal. Don't pass